Hello and welcome back to the Squeaky Bum Time podcast with Mike and Laurent. It is Friday, August 20th. In this episode, North London transfer sagas. Nuno heads back to Molineux to face Wolves, and we've got merch and betting advice. But first, Mike, your team lost in some tournament that no one's ever heard of and played really, really bad. And Brian Hill didn't play well. And does it take a damper off the City game?
No, not at all.
Are you sure?
Not at even a little bit. I've been torn from the start on how I feel about this tournament. We'll get into that in a second.
Is it the Europa Conference League? It's literally
Conference League losers. You'll never sing that.
Yeah, I mean,
we're the first English team ever to lose in the competition, so we're really excited about making history today.
Yeah, so it's one of these things that, because of the faux democratic nature of UEFA, in order to get votes for all the other tiny little leagues, they make these other tournaments that are just like, what? So look, you give the teams that don't really ever have a chance to be in the Champions League, let alone in Europa, a shot to be in Europe, and it means something. They get to go. It doesn't mean anything to England, but if I were the championship, I would put my teams in the Europa Conference League.
Yeah, I mean, if you're one of these smaller teams, you get to go on a European tour. You get to give your masquerade as a Europa League team.
But one thing that I do want to go back to on the culture thing, and then we'll do the preview. This is the match 2 preview, but I do want to talk about one thing that's important is for teams that are not the big 5 leagues, so Spain, France, England, Germany, Italy, this thing means a lot. It is a chance, like you said, and it's a chance for us to see other fans, right? Like these crazy stadiums, like getting to see a team in Romania, Steaua Bucharest, fucking set their stadium on fire is exciting to me. So I have respect for it, but for Spurs, it's like, do I need to do this?
It's a chore, and it's a youth league tournament, and fine. But
if the championship teams could be in it, it would be awesome, because then you could have like Nottingham Forest in Europe, which is pretty dope.
Anyway, but you're gonna get the 7th place team in the league in it. So, and that's Charlie's debut on the podcast. That little bastard.
That's okay. It's a family show.
It's a family show.
Dogs, and he's barking. He is really upset about the Harry Kane saga. He doesn't want him to go.
He is. He was almost named Harry, and he wasn't. I'm not one of those people. Harry Canine, I guess, but
you did well not to call him Harry Canine. You just named him after his brother instead.
Yeah, right, exactly. Charlie Canine, the illiterate agent, super agent in London. But will he stay? Will he go? That's been all the rage in London newspapers this week. It's interesting. The one thing that I felt after the City game that was missing was the great job, boys, from Kane. Every time he's hurt they get a big win, he's always, the big cheerleader and stuff like that. He was apparently at the stadium, but there was no real word from him, especially and not that social media means anything to anybody, but in a time where you were such a leader and you're so absent, it's incredibly deafening, right? He just popped in with something yesterday, day before, where it was just like, hey, go had a training session, all good, like wearing the Spurs crest. So he seems to be, starting to resign himself that he's going to have to make amends with not only the club, the players in the locker room, but the fans that have sung his name, relentlessly for 7-8 years now and had his back when he was. I mean, I've talked about it on the show and more than a few times where he's been the subject of ridicule for no good reason whatsoever. And Spurs fans like myself have always come to his defense. And we feel really pretty high and dry right now. There's a vocal minority on Twitter that really wants him out and blah, blah, blah. And shut the fuck up.
They don't.
When he comes back, they don't.
It's not real life. Let's always remember that.
Right. But I feel like he has always been the utmost professional and utmost example of what we want Tottenham Hotspur to be, and he has been so the opposite the last 3 weeks that it's going to take a little bit of time for me. And what I mean a little bit of time is this Sunday when he scores at Molineux, I'm going to be singing Harry Kane. He's one of our own. But it's interesting. There is still a chance that he could go to City, right? But it just seems, and I'm curious your perspective, but it seems as though City are slowly moving on.
Yeah. So in midweek, in midweek we had this Dusan Mihalovic.
Well, he was he's a Spurs target, right? That was the things that
Spurs
it felt like City.
Any striker becomes a thing, right? So he became a City target for a good hot minute, and that was okay. I really do think City are standing firm. They're where they are. They're at the 125 plus a player. Those players that they're offering don't want to go, right? Because they all want to play in Europe, specifically Bernardo Silva, specifically Aymeric Laporte. City, I think one of the things that's interesting is City don't deal with Raiola, so actually Haaland is not an option. And the incredulity of the punditry of like, wouldn't you just want Haaland? That they don't do like 5 minutes of research and know that City have not signed a Raiola player ever makes you wonder what they're up to. Because I'm like, why do I know that? And everyone knows that.
Well, we could go back on the tape like 3 weeks and we were saying that too. No, I did. I was like, why? Oh, okay. I did. I was like, why wouldn't you want Haaland over Kane? And you were like, I do.
Yeah, exactly.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. So there's that piece, and I had forgotten about it, and it came back. Like
I didn't know that.
It's just there is a management piece here that's very personal. We always have to remember these teams are really small. It's literally Triggy Bigaristan, who's the GM of City, this director of football, the CEO Ferran Torres, one other guy, and then they're just talking to Levy direct, right? It's 3 guys, and it's personal relationships. I do think City will walk, and they'll just go, okay. And I think Levy might end up eventually going, I'm going to hold the bag. Kane is going to be 31, and I'm going to miss out on $125 million because there's nobody else that's going to buy him, right?
Can I ask a stupid question, though?
Yeah.
As we look, and this will be a sort of segue into our next topic, but as we watch Tottenham's North London rivals spend $135 million on not a whole hell of a lot, does that really, we've been down this road before with Spurs. They've had $100 million to spend. Granted, they got some excellent players out of it, but did they really sell Elvis to buy the Beatles? No, they did not. And so I trust Fabio Paratici in the small amount of signings he's made so far. I trust the names that have been thrown around, but until I see them, on the Twitter account, until I see them, donning the lily white shirt, then it's just a rumor. It's just Paulo Dybala. It's just it's everybody.
And the other
all
thing
over
is
again.
that we keep remembering is it's not linear. These things are happening day by day by day by day, and they make it look like there's news every day. There's been no news. Nothing has happened.
Oh no,
the same 125 million has been put out there. Spurs is saying nothing, and City is saying nothing, and everything else is bullshit. But I do have one point, and I argued with people on Twitter about this. There is a lot of PR going on. There are players being put in to make it look like pressure. All of a sudden, Lewandowski comes up. That's bullshit. This Vlahovic to City thing, that came out of nowhere. City have never said anything about that. So there's all these things that fly up. But one of the things that I noticed is the Spurs side campaign of, he had a 6-year contract and he should honor it. I have this to say to you. I'm going to look directly in the camera. Never side with management. Ever. Always side with players. Always. If you look up any history of sport,
I know,
ever in any sport, management are scum and fuck the players. Even our friend Harry Kane got fucked by his owner. Never.
No, he got fucked by his agent.
Never side with the players. Did Charlie Kane fuck up? Yes, he's a disaster. That's why I said this too. This is why you signed Mino Raiola. He wouldn't have let this happen.
Right.
There would have been an escape clause for $180 million, and he would have been fucking drumming up shit wherever. But never side with management. Always side with the players. Come on.
Okay.
Always.
Now let's rewind.
As a heuristic. Unless the guy's a rapist, then throw the player under the bus.
Right. There are exceptions to the never rule.
They're not altruistic, and they're not good people, and they're not on your side.
Okay, let's rewind 3 months. We go back to the end of last season.
Yeah.
Harry Kane is walking off, clapping very limited fans. It was horrible.
Yeah.
And what was the tone in that stadium there? And again, limited fans.
Appreciative.
We're going to fucking kill Daniel Levy with our bare hands, right? Yeah. And it's been the same song for 5 years. He's the reason Pochettino left. He's the reason we never won anything. He's the reason we got close but no cigar. He's the reason why we have all these delusional expectations out of Spurs because of the last 5 years that we got so close and we were just always the bridesmaid, never the bride. But 3 months later, almost to the day, we're sitting here and Spurs fans are more on the side of Daniel Levy than Harry Kane, because what ends up happening is if Kane says he wants to go, then okay. I don't root for Harry Kane FC. I root for Tottenham Hotspur FC. And I will continue to root for Tottenham Hotspur FC, whether Kane is here or not. So whether I like it or not, I'm married.
I know why it happens. All I'm saying is, who owns the press? Who owns all the PR connections? Who can put something on TV? Who can put the ear in the press? Who can contact agents? Who can contact the league? Who can pull the player down? Who has all that power? The club.
Not all of it.
Almost all of it.
Who went golfing with Gary Neville before the Euros and put all this out there? Harry fucking Kane did. That wasn't Daniel Levy.
That's all he had. Okay? I'm just saying, as a heuristic, never side with management. The players have what?
I largely
4
agree.
years, maybe, where they have a shot to make the kind of money. Daniel Levy's going to be fine for another 50 years, and when he sells Spurs, he'll sell it for $1 billion.
I know. And I'm not, listen, it is a tremendous leap of faith to say that I am always in, or I'm 100% in Daniel Levy's camp here. I'm not. What I'm trying to do is look at it from the Tottenham Hotspur, what the best point of view for them going forward is, and there's differing opinions on this.
It's either there are times when the needs of the club are aligned with the needs of the fan, and there are times when the needs of the fans are aligned with the needs of the club, right? The other way around, whatever it is, right? And that happens all the time. Like when a player wants to stay and they move him, or whatever the reasons are, or they sign a new contract, or that one player is holding out. And he's like, "You guys need to buy more players." I get it. But all I'm saying is, a rule of thumb, don't side with management. They will fuck you anytime. This is the same team that signed to be with the Super League, okay? The players didn't sign up for that shit.
I know.
Right? That's all I'm saying.
But he also hasn't signed a replacement for Harry Kane ever. Carlos Vinicius is back in Portugal. So, yeah, they didn't sign him. I mean, granted, it was a $45 million buy clause, but why would you spend that? But okay, you don't have any strikers if you sell Harry Kane, okay? And don't tell me, Sonny, he's not a 38-game striker, okay? And it's not because I don't love him. He's just you need more than one striker. The point is, you need to keep Harry Kane and you need to sign a backup striker regardless, right? And so if you sell Harry Kane, you get all the money in the world. You have 11 days or 10 days until the transfer window closes.
Yeah.
Really? Lautaro Martinez went by the wayside. Vlahovic, who was our target first, is going by the wayside. So those are your two main targets right there. Danny Ings, we talked about a lot. Yeah. So there's a lot of Spursiness, if you will, in the window already. And
maybe Ollie Watkins is available.
But he's not.
I would take Ollie Watkins in City tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely. And that
for $40 million, I'd be like, Ollie Watkins, let's get it.
Yeah. And so listen, whatever they do with this money at this point will be a panic move, and everybody's going to know they have it. So they're going to ratchet up the prices. So
the thing is, for
there's
City,
no reason to sell
for City, it's like, if we don't get Kane, we might finish second. Like, we're in the Champions League no matter what. Yep. Like, that's nailed down. Without Kane, we might lose the Champions League because Pep does something stupid. Chelsea are fucking nailed on. They're fucking good. I still, later on, I'm going to talk about why I still Still,
yeah. That's a cliffhanger.
Listen,
so let's
I'm
go
a
back.
flip-flopper. What do you want from me?
You are. Let's switch gears a little bit. That's too much Harry Kane talk for me.
Let's
talk about the club. A club I love to talk about is Arsenal, right? Made some waves this week, and I mentioned it earlier in the show that they have topped out their summer spending, most in the league. I believe their total is up to 135 million pounds now. Help me out with this. They've gotten Ben White for about 50. They've gotten ignore the two other ones for now. Who are the other ones that they've signed?
They got an African kid, a French kid, Satabia, something like that.
Okay. A couple of other names that are escaping me at the moment, but the two that were headlines this week, Martin Odegaard, who you may remember from such films as last season, really, really strong attacking midfielder. He's going to partner with Emile Smith-Rowe, they think. And that makes them formidable. I really like him. I mean, if you've heard the name before, it's because he was one of these starlit 15, 16-year-old kids who signs with Real Madrid and all the fanfare, and they never really live up to what they're supposed to be, which is effectively messy.
Is that he didn't lose his mind, right? Like the fact that he signed for Real Madrid at 15 years old and came out of it is pretty good. So it's Nuno Tavares, undisclosed, Lokonga from Anderlecht, who is a recommendation from Vincent Kompany. He was the captain at 20.
That's right. I remember that.
15 million. Ben White at 50. Bunch of dudes out, like a squad that is just like, they sold Guendouzi, they sold Willock, they sold
that was good business.
Mavropanos, a bunch of other guys who just left.
So the two, again, Odegaard is going to be a great signing. He's about 35 million. I'm not entirely sure what, but in that range,
35, 40.
Yeah. Really strong signing. Again, a player that, he's only 22 years old, and he's gonna walk right into that room because he did as early as 3 months ago. He was he was arguably one of their best players last season. So a really strong pickup for Arsenal, and something that was predictable and it was right.
I got a lot of feedback on him because I was trolling Twitter a lot. Just a guy that you can fire the ball to him in the box, in the hole, at the 10, in different areas. It'll stick. He'll turn and make the next pass. He's not a scorer, but he's a knitter together of the play. So these guys that you need to make the next pass. He's the pass before the pass. He's not flashy, but really tidy on the ball, like turns and spins with it. Boom, boom. So I think Arsenal fans know this. They know they need him. So, I mean, he makes a difference. But again, it's that Laka, Aubameyang, old dudes up front thing. It's like they seem to be like of a different team. There's one team that Arteta's making that you can see. It's the Saka, it's the Tierney, it's Smith-Rowe, it's Martinelli, it's Odegaard. You know, you've got some things going on there that are working. You know, Ben White is a facsimile of John Stones, essentially, right? Not strong. Probably a little bit of a beta in defense because he's still young, needs a rock with him, but doesn't have it yet. That's fine. But you can see the crap version of Manchester City that he's building. But
no, that's exactly what he's doing.
Right? But he's still got these holdovers of guys that they're Wenger guys, right? Oba and Lacazette are Wenger, right? 2018. And then, you know, if there was anyone who had a fucking contract run ever, it's Aubameyang. He went nuts. He won him the FA Cup just running in behind when Arteta smartly was playing defensively, and then he decided, no, I don't want to do that. So he's got to get them back. Apparently there was a COVID thing, so I don't. It's not like there was some made up scandal that he had a falling out with those guys, but you know, it's not like a Spaniard has never been a racist before. So I'm throwing that in there. Pep has problems. African players are like, yo, Pep, you're a dick. And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm like, And then Bernardo Silva's from Portugal. We got the monkey thing with Mendy. I don't know what's going on in Spain, but I think there's like casual accidental racism happening that we don't even think about. That's probably happening.
They're just so condescending that it comes off as racist.
They don't even know. Like they just like,
they don't even mean it.
That's fine. Yeah.
But so the bigger news from earlier yesterday was £40 million spent on a goalkeeper, Aaron Ramsdale. Now, they have Bernd Leno as the number one, but may we remind you that a year ago, right around this time, they sold Emiliano Martinez to Aston Villa for £20 million. So they're already negative net 20 on Ramsdale, right? And that's how I'm choosing to look at it. And maybe that's not totally correct because it's different windows and all that stuff. But you know what? One was a questionable move that we first guessed at the moment. By the way, comfortably the best goalkeeper in the Premier League last season.
It was amazing.
Wins the Copa America with Argentina.
Was amazing. I mean, like Brazil attacking him.
Yeah. No sweat.
Yeah.
And
awesome.
And shaky first game, but nonetheless, one of the more established goalkeepers in the league at this point. And now you bring in Aaron Ramsdale.
Yeah.
The
big thing for me with Martinez is, and it's so glaring with Arsenal that you can't even like, how do they not see this? He was the one player in that squad. He had command. He had force. Yeah. It was personality. He was big. He was strong. You fucking go there, run out on him. Leno feels like a guy who wears a fucking beret in Berlin. Like he's drinking, tea. He's like, oh, I do yoga. Martinez is like, we're going out. I'm taking the defense out. We're going to have fun. And then we're going to lift weights. Right? You know what I mean? Like he just had a sporting winning look about him and he commanded that team and it made a difference. And it made a difference to Arsenal. They won the fucking FA Cup with him.
I remember saying on this show numerous times that watching Martinez, I was like, I don't like having to face him at all. And they sold him. I was like, oh, thank God.
Big and strong and good. Right?
And he's only gotten more bulky.
You put into the club, right? 10 years on loan and like dealing with England. His English is fantastic. He didn't leave until he played well. And they're like, oh, let's ditch him now that we have a chance.
Yeah, right.
What are you doing?
Yeah, questionable.
It's just shocking to me. When in doubt, choose a fucking Argentinian. They're crazy.
I love them. I mean,
come on.
You know me. I'm big
what
on the Argentinians.
What are you doing? They're hard as fucking nails. They play to win. They'll dive. They'll scratch. They'll bite. This is why Uruguay, a country the size of fucking Rhode Island, has 2 World Cups and the United States has 0.
They're biters. They'll
fight to the death.
But
they're the Japanese of footballers.
We roll on Sunday. Is that the World War II reference? Is that count?
Close. I went to the Pacific. Ding! It's a little different.
Yep.
We
roll on Sunday, and we stick with Arsenal. They host Chelsea, who Chelsea obviously looked great, but I mean, they played a JV squad in Crystal Palace last week. So you kind of go, here's your 3 points. Let's go sit over there for a second. This will be a good test for both teams. Arsenal obviously rattled by the Brentford, experience, if you will. But now they host, Premier League challengers, Chelsea, and current Champions League winners, right? So, the
Chelsea
question I have,
starting to gain momentum in the in Telerati, where people are like, "Oh, wait a minute, that team looks like they're going to win the league."
Yeah.
And as much as I love City, if they won the league, I would not be surprised. Like it's starting to feel like the train is rolling. The Lukaku's in. I still worry about their twiggy, waif thin crew. Like all those guys that are 5'6" to 5'7" and weigh 140 pounds that just do their fucking thing. So Pulisic, Havertz, Ziyech, that gang, those little, that group. But now they've got like a big freaking unit that can stand in between them and be like, listen, you literally fuckers, I'm here now.
Yeah.
And you're going to play off me. Oh, I forgot Werner.
Werner's going to be figuring as part of that, probably off the left.
No, he's definitely going to play. Otherwise, why would you have been playing him all this time?
Yeah.
He still does stuff, but they're so good.
Without
they're
question.
so deep, and they're all like under 20. Like it's unbelievable how many good players.
I think the average age of that group, aside from Lukaku, because he's like 29, but the rest of them are like 23. I think is the average age. So, yeah, I mean, listen, nobody's saying that Chelsea doesn't have a plethora of attacking, riches, just like City does, and they should be there at the end. one of those two teams is probably going to be lifting the trophy. But looking at Sunday, Arsenal, we learned a little bit about what the kids have and what the kids don't have, right? And I think Arteta won't make that mistake against Chelsea, right?
He's not going to play Balogun again up there.
No, you can't play Balogun.
He's got to be a real striker. Somebody.
And is Xhaka healthy? I can't remember.
Unfortunately, yes.
Well, listen, I think he's going to be.
Yeah, the out list is Partey and Nketiah, Gabriel, Aubameyang, Lacazette, Willian, and Runnerson, who they're getting rid of. Which on the injury side for Ziyech, it's just Ziyech is out
for Chelsea. So. Yeah. Well, there's one questionable, and it's a big one for Chelsea, and it's N'Golo Kante. And so, if he's out, that changes a lot of things.
No, but they'll play Kovacic and Jorginho.
But he's not. But but they're not. Neither of them are Kante.
Right. No. But the other problem is Arsenal don't have the attack. They don't have to worry.
So I think Saka goes 90 minutes in this one. He obviously didn't start. That was the one, egregious error I thought that that Arteta made in the lineup decision against Brentford is that he left Saka off. He put him on the bench. But he's got to play him against Chelsea. He just has to. But again, bringing Odegaard and Smith Rowe. They're going
to have to play all these guys.
They might, but my point is that playing Odegaard next to Smith Rowe should make both of them better. And I think that gives them a shot. I think, like I said earlier, I think that Odegaard steps right into that team. He certainly, if there's no fitness problems, he certainly should be on skill, and he's familiar with everyone. So he should walk right in. Who plays at the top? I'm not sure. Speaking of Chelsea, Tammy Abraham was sold to Roma this week. Arsenal was rumored to be interested in him. He would have been perfect for Arsenal. He would have been perfect.
It's probably going to be Rowe, Pepe, Saka, because that's who they've got. That's their three up front. And there's an idea that they may match the back three of Chelsea. Chelsea, obviously, their back three. They signed Chalobah after he scores the goal. They're going to have him playing. So it'll be Chalobah, Christensen, and Rudiger, Azpilicueta, Alonso. So it's kind of a back four, like it's a sideways back four.
Yeah, it's slanted.
Azpilicueta rolls in, and then basically Alonso's a winger.
And I could see Reece James reclaiming his spot for Azpilicueta. I could see, in fact, I expect Ben Chilwell to play over Marcus Alonso at some point in the next few weeks. So, but the interest, like you said, it's if you've got James and Chilwell playing, it's going to be a slanted four, but it's going to switch. It's more or less going to be a seesaw, right? Which is the really interesting thing about them, where they can go down both sides of the field and they can attack you from anywhere.
The other problem is like if you're Lukaku, you can pick any team in the Premier League to make your debut against where you feel like you can do well. What team would you pick?
I would pick Arsenal.
That's their problem.
Arsenal. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. They're big enough that they still a name, but weak enough that I can just fucking post up on these bitches and just roll them, right? Because that's where Arsenal are. They're the team that gets rolled, right?
Yeah.
They were that way under Wenger, but at least they could always attack. They always had players that open you up. But if you punch them in the mouth, they'd go down, right?
Yeah.
What Arsenal are dying for is fucking Rudiger. Like that guy, that force, that command. It's so galling and so bizarre. It must be like a cultural deep state problem. I mean, I hate to use like the oldest cliches in the world, but they literally haven't replaced fucking Vieira for 20 years.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like they tried it with Partey. I don't know how leadership works. I don't play enough soccer. It's just clear. You watch him and you're just like, Xhaka tries to be it, but he's not good enough. Like he gets in people's faces and fouls people, but you don't get the sense that like, could you just have maybe moved your feet instead of taking the guy down? And like,
right.
Why did you have to grab him by the shirt every time someone runs past you? Like maybe if you moved, you could just stop that from happening, right?
Right.
Like, could you just not do what you do, right? But he's a good passer, whatever. And they have too many young guys where you don't get the sense that any of them are fiery. Any of them will feel confident enough to be like, yo, Aubameyang, You fucking make that run again, I'm going to punch you in the face. You come back and stand next to me because this guy's killing me. Like, who is that guy on that team? They don't have it, right?
Right.
There's nobody. You never even see people pointing. They just go like this.
They are a team of mopey guys pulling the ball out of their own net.
I do have one more point of reference that's really great about soccer that we get because of the lack of movement, especially at the top level. The personality of teams is real and institutional. And when it changes, you feel it, right? Like Spurs became Pochettino's team, a team in their personality.
And then we didn't.
To Mourinho and then completely changed to suit a strong personality in Mourinho. And now you're seeing it again with Nuno. City have taken on Pep. They are Pep. They're quiet. Well, he's the leader of that team, right? Like Burnley is Sean Dyche. And even when Sean Dyche leaves, it's going to take time to undo it. So teams have historical personality. Like Real Madrid in a Champions League, even if they're having a bad year, it's like, they're still Real. They have some institutional power to be good. And Arsenal are living off of institutional Wenger, but it's gone. Like are they living on their reputation, or are they not really better than Villa?
No, I think that their reputation has taken notches down, right? We're not talking about the Invincibles here. We're talking about the Arsenal badge.
But people talk about it. It's 15 years ago.
No, I know but what I'm saying is it's the Arsenal badge that is so recognizable around the world because of the Invincibles, but because of Thierry Henry, because of Patrick Vieira, because of Bergkamp, right? But
Campbell and Seaman and Tony Adams and all those guys.
Yeah, right. But you take a step back and you go, every chink in the armor for the last 15 years, right? Every bad loss, every
8-1,
embarrassing
6-3s.
Thank you. Yes, exactly. It used to be that Spurs were the punching bag, right? And you
and they still are fighting Spursy, and they're still fighting for that trophy. So it does stay, right? Like even in the Pochettino, even in the positivity, there are still little pieces of narrative that hold on. Like City fans, we find moments to put typical City. Like it's typical that we lost the Champions League that way. That's infected institutional scars.
Well, that's where you get
right. That's why City's my team. I still think they're going to lose, even when they win.
Well, that's inherently you live with the Pep, you die with the Pep, essentially, right? But yeah, all right. So, and we're going to get to. I don't want to spoil any gambling picks for later in the show, which is one of our new segments. But I think Arsenal have a shot here. And I'll leave it at that, and we'll talk about it a little later in the show. I don't want to waste that much more time on Spurs, but it is one of the better, interesting game of the weekend. Nuno, narratives. Nuno heads back to the Molineux to take on his former Wolves. He was there. How long you think? 5-6 years?
4 or 5 years. Now, but so I was listening to some podcast about it. A guy who covers the Black Country in England, which is Birmingham, not. Don't use your American brain. Black Country because of coal.
You mean my Italian brain?
Yeah. So, and he said that Nuno was really instrumental in completely changing the culture at Wolves. So it's not just a manager coming back. It is a Pochettino coming back. It is a Pep going to Barcelona to play a game. It's like a culture changing guy. I mean, that Wolves team didn't just come out of the championship. They destroyed the championship, came into the league, finished 7th twice in a row, had a long European campaign, and had a second really good season where they finished 7th again. And only last season when shit just went wrong. I mean, I think you realize the depth of that. They ran that 11 out there. They lost Jota, then they lost Jimenez. They really couldn't recover.
They lost Jota late in the like it would be like if they transferred him out now, right? Like that Liverpool transfer was later on in the window, if I remember correctly. And so, I mean, they lost him. They didn't have the opportunity really to turn around and find a replacement for him. They brought in Neto, who was as good as you could have asked for, and I think the light of the Jimenez injury, which was horrible.
And Traore was supposed to kick on, and he didn't. He went from a 10-goal season, 10 assists to 0.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. They really thought he would become a thing, and he didn't. And so that's really where the damage came for them. They needed someone to step up, and no one did. And their midfield of Neves and Moutinho was really getting long in the tooth. They hung on in defense. I think they lost Bali for a lot of the season as well. A really good defender that, hey, maybe Arsenal just buy him. You fucking.
So I'm excited to watch this one from my Spurs perspective. The way that he had the players fighting for him and for the club against City tells me that this is going to be an interesting one to watch. Generally speaking, trips to Wolves have not necessarily been kind to Spurs, and they've always been dogfights, no pun intended. But I feel like we sort of have that spirit of the dog on our side now. So I'm curious to see if Wolves sort of fold a little bit easier. It does feel like, and it's one game in, it does feel like all of their attacking ambition and all is going straight through Traore at this point, which he feels like a straight line runner, and that's sort of an easy thing.
I mean, they're going to try with Jimenez.
Yeah, but we talked about it. He's skittish to say the least, and that's not a criticism at all. I mean, how could you not be? But it feels like they're I don't think they're rushing him back, but like I worry about how he's going to look and feel on the field and his comfortability level, really. But we've talked about Spurs too much on this show, so I'm looking forward to maybe seeing another shit kicking at Old Trafford this weekend with United taking on Southampton. And we highlighted Southampton as one of the sneaky relegation candidates without Vestergaard. That could get ugly for them. So Pogba's feeling it. Obviously, Fernandez is feeling it. And they just were able to bed Sancho in a little bit. And I think he's going to get a full start. Greenwood looked unbelievable while Cavani gets healthy. So, and Rashford gets healthy. They're firing on all cylinders, and Southampton's really not going to have a whole heck of a lot there to stop them. So I'm liking the idea of another potential laugher for United. I'll wait till Laurent gets back because of wherever he went. But City and Norwich and Liverpool. So Man City take on Norwich and Liverpool take on Burnley. The question I have for the listener is who's going to win by more? I don't think either of these games is even mildly watchable. I think City is the late game on Saturday. So you might get to see a good thrashing of Norwich there. Obviously, Liverpool just came off a 3-0, smacking of them last weekend. Not a lot to really think about here. The other thing with Liverpool is that Tsimikas will probably be playing again at left back, but Andy Robertson has been seen in training, so he'll be back. If he's not back before the September international break, I'll be surprised at this point. And it did sound like the worst case scenario, he'd be back after it. So that's good news for the Reds. But I see them both kind of cruising to early victories there. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, there's a couple of other games. But before we go deeper into it, I want to talk about my friend Laurent is back. He died, everyone.
Just a little internet connectivity. Just had to drop and pop back in.
That's all right. Laurent has died. But yeah, no, don't worry about it. But I do want to talk real quick about our friend Joe at Attitude of Gratitude Consulting. We talk about him every week, and he absolutely deserves, to be talked about more. There's a lot of different ways you can try and cut corners and make sense of your finances and save money for whatever it is you've got coming up, in your life. But Joe's really, really takes the time to get to know you, to get to know your family, and understand what your situation is, right? And the important thing about that is because everybody's situation is different. So he really takes the time to understand all of the different variables and, different circumstances that you may be working with. There's the website with the baby. It's just every time. So go call the number. I'm going to shout the number out real quick. Go up to the top. 347-865-2290 is the number. You can schedule a call at any time. I'm sure if we called him right now, he'd pick up the phone.
He's even got a scheduler. It's really nice.
Yeah, he's got a scheduler. You could do it right on the site. Go to attitudeofgratitudeconsulting.com. Once again, that's www.attitudeofgratitudeconsulting.com for more information. Talk to our buddy Joe and tell him the guys from Chop Sports and the Squeaky Bum Time podcast sent you.
Hey, thanks for stepping in there, Mike. Had a little internet action, little bit of a thing. I noticed as I was in it, I was like, why am I so choppy? I'm like moving my head and it's not moving. So we have a video that comes on. But it kicked off and was able to get back in. It just took a little bit longer than we wanted to. I do want to run through a couple of items on the schedule that we should probably touch just for the sake of talking about it. One is our boys from Brentford and Crystal Palace. That is a London derby. That's a serious game. I'll be watching that one. Great atmospheres. I'm sure Brentford will bring a strong crew to Selhurst Park. Brighton Watford, just because that's my
you can't quit the Seagulls.
And then I expect City's going to play at home against Norwich. They are due for some fucking ass kicking. Hopefully, if City lose that game, there will be panic on the streets me.
That's a good point, right? like you basically, Norwich is taking on a bee-stung City. They're going to turn around with a whiplash, and they're going to be like, I talked about it while you died, but I didn't mention that point, right? Like, so City, obviously having taken the loss last week, they're out to be like, no, we're going to make sure we're make up the goal difference, and we're going to take some anger out on Norwich, poor little Norwich here. So I said that I believe that Liverpool will win, but I think that this is a good segue into our. No, I said no, City and Liverpool, and I know you might differ on one of those. But I think this is a really good segue into our new segment. Best bets of the week. We are gambling. Boy. That's right. I apologize.
I may have to put money on these games just to have some skin
I'm going
in the game
to.
Instead of talking bullshit.
So
you tell me how it's going to work.
Do it. Let me explain it. Here's how it's going to work. We're going to each pick 3 games each week, and we're going to review them on the Monday show, obviously, but we're also going to keep our record over the course of the year. And there may be some prizes for listeners as the season goes on. We'll see how much we lose before we guarantee anything.
We're betting. We're not really betting us because they don't want to get in trouble, but we'll put some crap cash, as we call it here on the show.
Okay.
On the game. We'll call it crap cash out of the CFCP production, old school name for those old heads who are down the crap football, crap pundit era. So crap cash, we'll go into our bets. I just need one of them to hit, and I'm a fucking genius. So I'm loving it.
All right. So first and foremost, give me your first best bet of the week.
I, as a lunatic, non-professional gambler who just loathes Liverpool FC, that's Burnley money line at plus 1,500. That means if I put 1,000 crap cashes on it, I win 1,500 crap cashes. Is that correct?
If you put 100.
100. Excuse me, 100. Sorry, I had a little bit off.
If you put 100 crap cash.
Yeah. So I'm going to take my 100 crap cash, put it on Burnley.
Okay.
Burnley have broke the streak at Anfield last season after the 68-game home winning streak and actually sent Liverpool into a tailspin. Sean Dyche has that effect on teams. And Also, I think they drew with them the year before at home in Fortress Turfmoor, the greatest stadium name in the whole fucking world, Turfmoor. That's just insane. The sky is very low to the ground. Sean Dyche is pissed off at his team. He probably gave them 10 lashes after blowing a 1-goal lead to my beloved Brighton, who are not as good as Liverpool, but played like Liverpool. They have Adam Lallana, which used to be on Liverpool. So that's close enough. But I do like this game. I don't trust Liverpool. I think that Sean Dyche is literally going to tell them, kick Van Dijk in the leg. Just kick him in the leg.
It's possible. That's entirely possible.
So I like Tarkowski, and I like Ben Mee to try and get at him, and I see a Dwight McNeil cross going off Chris Wood's head after someone elbows Allison in the face, so he can't get the easy header, and Burnley win 1-0 because Sadio Mane's COVID comes back up.
I will give you, it's going to be 1-0, but an own goal. How about that?
Okay. I also, in a crazy pick, I've got Arsenal money line at plus 350. It was too much money. It's too much money for Arsenal in a London derby against Chelsea, who they drew with and always play them tough. I think Arteta has been great at back to the wall games. He just seems, now, could I have looked for a draw here? Probably, but I just think that Arteta has somehow always finds a way when he's about to be dead in the water. Arsenal don't lose much under Arteta. What they do is draw. Even though they lost last week, it's the draws that kill them. And I think that they'll find a way against Chelsea. Because if they're going to go down, they got City up next. If they're going to go 0-3, he's going to get fired. So he's going to circle the wagons and pull one out against Tuchel and bring Chelsea down to earth after they played Crystal Palace, which is basically like, Patrick Vieira is a bum. He's not a good manager. And then lastly, my beloved Brighton, after pulling one out that they didn't deserve, they're going to win this game on XG 7-3 against XG of 7 goals, which means they're going to get 3 penalties and miss them all, but still draw to Watford because that's their narrative. They were the number 1 team in draws. They also, along with Spurs last season, dropped the most points from winning positions with 23. So I still think they'll finish in the top 10, but they don't have to make it to Europe. They just have to keep their XG fun going, and they're plus 250 for a draw against Watford, which I love. And they never win at home, ever.
Yeah, I like that a lot. They, if we've learned anything from Brighton last year, and hearing you talk about it, they will disappoint you like my eventual children. So,
but it's not disappointing.
But in this case,
it's life affirming.
In this case, if you can make a couple of crap cash off of it, right?
Put $100 of crap cash on.
Yeah, exactly. So
yours is more human.
Mine are actually. I looked at these. I'm like, okay, these might actually happen.
I was going to do Brentford too. It was too easy.
I was looking at, and I mentioned earlier in the show, I think that, and my friends and I have a meme where it's like the Captain America, when Spider-Man's in detention, he's like, so you bet on Spurs again, didn't you? But so that's kind of where I'm going this week. Again, I think we have the dog in the fight this time against Wolves. So I think the Wolves are going to fold, and I think that they're actually.
Oh, I see what you did there. You don't want to get thrown to them either.
Hey. I like Leicester a lot on a draw no bet, which essentially means I get no risk on a draw. I just West Ham scare me a little bit again with their late season or their late game heroics, but
I think last week, man.
They were great last week. Leicester, I think, is a little bit more firm at the back, and I'm hedging this a little bit with the draw no bet. So that one could come out. And again, even odds, I'll take that, no problem. And then Brentford, I understand it's a derby, and derbies, anything can happen. But I will take the money against Crystal Palace every time I can. There's too many variables.
Doors blown off them by Chelsea. Like they didn't get out of their half. Like they're not there yet. Whatever Vieira is doing, maybe there'll be a second half team. They're changing a culture on that team and half the players. So it's a long way to go. And I want Vieira to do well. I like the idea of a manager of African descent. That's good. We want that. We want diversity. We want it to look like the players. We want an old school player to sort of play. We want him to play attacking football. We want him to succeed. It's just there's a lot of changes going on from like 5 years of Roy Hodgkin playing a 4-4-2, betting on Mihajlovic.
Well, it's a lot of new players. Penalties. They're a team of individuals right now still, and they don't have Eze. They don't have Olise. I think is still out.
Olise is out. Yeah.
So all these young, exciting players who they have brought in, they're not part of the side right now. I think that they could be in a really, really tough spot come Halloween or so, looking up at a lot of teams at the table. So, and by the way, here's another prop one as a bonus that I probably won't put any crap cash on, but it's worth it. Ivan Toney had 0 shots last week.
What a crock of shit. He's going to have 5.
He's going to go explode. I think he's going to score this week, but I also think that he's going to have a couple of shots on goal. So if there's a prop bet that you can take, I would guess that it's probably 2.5 for Toney. Take the over on that. That's going to be my my bonus one. So we're going to, like I said, we're going to track these. We're going to see how these results go. And we're going to update you. There you go. On the fly. I love that. But yeah, you know what? I'll put a little crap cash on that too. I'll report back. We'll tweet out these picks. We'll tweet out the results, obviously. And yeah, I think that's what we've got. So that's the best bet segment. Laurent, what do you got for me?
I feel like if you do a Premier League show, you have to talk about Manchester United because they're only.
Oh, I did, but you died.
Oh, okay. What did you have for United?
I said that they're going to kick the shit out of Southampton because without Vestergaard in the back, I mean, it's no.
See, I don't think so. Is it away? Yeah, it's away. No, they're not going to kick the shit out of Southampton.
Okay.
Because these are the games that United will be judged on. It's these games that if they win big, then I'll be interested in because it's the teams that sit deep and try and find a different way to play that really can't match them. If they show style in this game, I think is the big thing. Or do they sputter and kind of like futz around, huff and puff, and they get a penalty, and you're like, you know what, that was bullshit. They should have fucking lost that game, right? Good news on the Southampton front: JWP signs a deal, so he's not going anywhere. Thank God, because I was worried about them. You probably talked about all the games. Then did you talk about our beloved Leeds and Everton? Clash of styles, iconoclast managers. That one should be good. And then watch the Leeds game. Ellen Road is going to be on fire. It's their first game with fans in 17 years.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
I'm going to bring a knife to a Turkish fight, which famously the Leeds fans were attacked by Turks and killed because they're good people. We saw that with the Villa game. Sort of trash thing. Oh, where was it that they?
No, it was United. It was United.
United, right? They were trashing downtown Manchester. Just good old days. Good old. You do love to see it, and I think Mike, that's our match 2 preview. I think we've covered all our bases. Hopefully,
I'd say so.
By this time on Monday, Harry Kane will be a citizen.
You're a piece of shit.
North London.
Well, now let's get out of here.
Okay, that was the Squeaky Bum Time podcast with Mike Salerno and Laurent Cortines. We are the football wing of the Chop Sports Network. We record on Tuesdays and Fridays, so be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on Apple, please rate and review the show so we have more people watch the show because we need them to.
We need you.
And we do. And we'll let you know how it goes with our